I love everything about food, preparing it, cooking it, eating it, and that's exactly why I was wondering for a while how would I feel if I go a couple of days without it. This video is my journey through 3 days of fast, what I learned, how my mind and my body responded, how I felt during the training, and whether I would do it again. Now, although I know quite a bit about fasting, I haven't really experienced it myself firsthand, and also this time around it wasn't really planned beforehand. It was a random Tuesday night that I decided, let's try 1 day without food and see what it feels like. There was no big reason or plan behind this fast. It was mostly just curiosity. I really wanted to see how my body and my mind would respond. Now, even though I was not planning for this fast, I still made a couple of rules. Obviously, first one is no food, or I could say no calories, so also no liquid calories. The second rule was not to increase the caffeine intake. And the third one was related to when stopping the fast. So I knew that I want to go for at least 24 hours. And at every night or every evening, I would evaluate whether I want to pursue another day or not, based on how I'm feeling, but also more importantly, how my body is responding. And you'll see there was a particularly good reason why I wanted to stop on the day number 3. So for the first day of the fast, I was in the office, so I wasn't working from home. And as you will see throughout the days, this will have a big impact. At around 11:30, I would have typically my first meal. Of course, my hunger signals and my body is already quite synced to that time. And I started to feel some hunger, but I found that burying myself with work, but also being surrounded with colleagues and activity generally helps. When the usual meal time would hit, the hunger would appear. But if I could push through it, maybe for 30 minutes or up to an hour, the hunger would quiet down and it would pass completely after 1 to 2 hours. To keep myself busy, I even prepared a fasting journal that I wanted to fill in with all the thoughts and emotion that I'm feeling. But what I found is that at the end of the first day, it was rather empty. I mostly tracked how much tea, coffee, and water I drank. And that was it. No major observations for the first day. At the end of the day 1, I then evaluated how I'm feeling. I was generally feeling good. I did not train that day, not because I didn't have energy or anything. It was mostly related to me not having enough time in the day, which happens. Because I was feeling so normal and not distressed, I figured, let's go to bed, try to fall asleep, and wake up next day with the goal of going for at least 1 more day. So 48 hours was my next goal. Day 2 started at the usual time, but it was really an amazing night of sleep that I got. I felt well rested, clear-minded. My mood was great and I felt like I'm really motivated and switched on to take on whatever task lays ahead. It reminded me to those times when I started the carnivore diet almost a year ago. At the beginning, I also had those kind of superpower-like feelings, and it definitely surprised me how good and how well I felt altogether. There were a couple of key differences on day 2. Not only how I felt, I'm getting into that in a second, but already from the get-go, I would work from home that day, which means I was closer to kitchen and therefore also food. It felt like going around the clock required more willpower. The whole day was dragging out a bit and I also had to go on more walks just to get rid of or to forget about the hunger. But the real test was the second aspect, which is the training. So I told myself I will try to do my strength training session. Initially, I was anticipating and I was quite nervous about it because I really thought to myself, this will need significant modifications, but I started moving and everything was feeling really good. My energy was still high. My motivation and mood for training was undisrupted, and also my performance as well as my focus was really dialed in, which is something what really surprised me because at that time it was nearly 48 hours already that I've gone without food. By the end of day 2, I had another decision to make, to reevaluate, do I want to continue with the fast or stop right there? Gotta be honest, I started missing food, and my wife having a delicious dinner next to me was quite tempting, but I told myself, let's go to bed and reevaluate in the morning based off how I'm feeling after this training and about 60 hours of not eating. Day 3 felt quite different, I must say. Already from the morning, I noticed that my body is getting more and more depleted. It was not hunger, it was mostly, when you're feeling like flatter, and that mood swings that I was having. I was really anxious whether I would make it through the day. I again went to the office, which means I would be distant from the food, and I purposely didn't take any lunch with me, which means that I would at least bear through it until 5 p.m. or so, until I make it back home. If I really wanted to cheat, I could go to the supermarket and grab some food there, but it felt like this would be a very anticlimactic and dishonest way of ending the fast, so I decided to try to push through until 5 p.m. At work, I could still work on the tasks, and I completed the jobs that I had on the list for that day, but I do have to say that I felt a lot flatter, and my energy and mood were fairly down, and also my digestion started to act up. During day 3, it also felt like my hunger signals are changing. It was not like this discomfort in the stomach, but overall I was salivating around food, or even a smell, or even thinking about food. It really felt like my body is telling me, okay, it's time. You have this digestion upsets, and you're really craving food genuinely after 60, 70 hours. So for the second half of the day, I already started conning and making plan of how I want to break the fast. And honestly, this was the only thing that was really on my mind at that time. Since this was my first fast, I did not have the exact recipe how I want to break it, but it felt natural to me to start slow with some smaller meals, or even possibly liquid calories, and then gradually build upon that. So as I got home at around 5 p.m., I decided to try first with the homemade bone broth. I figured this would be a good starting point for breaking my fast. And I gotta be honest, this tasted heavenly. It was amazing. I'm not the biggest fan of soups. It's a good beefy flavor, but it was tasting like beef on steroids, basically. I gave my body some time to digest that, so about half an hour, maybe 1 hour later, I decided to have a few bites of solid food. So that was a carnivore meatloaf, I call it. It's mostly minced beef with some bacon and some cheese. And the satisfaction that I got from this meal, although it's super simple, it was really great. I could really taste every single ingredient that's in there, and I appreciate it a ton. My body did not appreciate it as much, to be honest, because although it was a very small portion, usually I would have 3 to 4 times as much food as this, I felt a bit lightheaded after this meal. There were frequently times where I actually needed to either sit down or even lay down because I felt a bit nauseous and lightheaded. So officially 72 hours in, I decided to treat myself with a carnivore staple dinner. So it's steak, bacon and eggs, my absolute favorite. Again, this meal was super satisfying, and it even felt a lot more tasteful and absolutely incredible after 3 days of not eating. Before I jump into conclusion about fasting, I need to preface here that I have been carnivore for almost a year now. So I think this has been much easier experience for me because I'm already fat adapted. I have plenty of fat already still on my body. So I think that was less of a struggle for me and for my body for that reason alone. But the big question is definitely, was it worth it and do I plan on doing it again? I would say it was worth it as a learning experience. It teaches you that missing food is a lot of times psychological and not so much physical or your body needing it, but rather your mind playing tricks on you. The hunger signals usually come like in waves. They might be elevated during the usual times. It's mostly connected to our hormones and regulated by our hormones. But if you can push through that, it becomes a lot easier, especially with caffeine included, as well as the activity. Those are the two things that helped me the most. It taught me also a lot about snacking. So previously, I would have 2 to 3 larger meals and some snacks in between, although I've drastically decreased those in the last year. Now it's a couple of weeks already since I've done this fasting experience, and even to this day I'm still evaluating when I am eager to snack. Okay, do I really need that snack, or is just my mind playing tricks on me again? And most of the time I figure it's the latter. So I also see that snacking has been reduced in the last couple of weeks, just because I can be more mindful about my actual hunger signals. Will I do another 3-day fast? I think that falls in the category of maybe. For me personally, I will keep it as a tool mostly for curbing with my discipline and my mental aspects, rather than implementing this like on a weekly basis or monthly basis to create like a calorie deficit or something. So that's my 3-day experience without food. What's your experience with fasting? Can you tell the difference between wanting to eat and actually needing the food? Let me know in the comments below. As always, thanks for watching. If you like the video, feel free to like it and consider subscribing if you want to support the channel.